I thought I had a great marriage with Lisa. We were married for 5 years and the first few were blissful. We shared everything, dreams, hobbies, and even the most mundane tasks. But recently the cracks started to show. Lisa became distant, her late nights at work started to become a regular thing, and the little things that made us laugh slowly disappeared. I brushed it off initially, attributing it to stress and the typical grind of everyday life. But deep down, I felt something was off. The first real sign of trouble came when I noticed her phone buzzing at odd hours. She used to show me everything on her phone, from texts to social media. Now, it was like she had a fortress around it. Lisa would quickly grab her phone and walk into another room whenever I was near. My gut twisted. I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Then there was the night I came home earlier than usual from a business trip. I thought I could surprise her. As I parked the car, I noticed a strange vehicle in our driveway. It was a sleek black sedan that looked out of place in our neighborhood. My heart raced as I approached the front door. I could hear muffled laughter inside, and it pierced through the air like a dagger. I pushed the door open, and there it was, my worst nightmare unfolding in front of me. Lisa was in our living room, her hair tousled, laughing and flirting with a guy I didn't recognize. My stomach dropped as I stood there frozen, caught in a moment of disbelief. They were sprawled on our couch, sharing a bottle of wine, legs intertwined like they were the only two people in the world. For a second, I wanted to turn around and walk out. I wanted to preserve some semblance of the life I thought we had, but I couldn't. I had to confront her, had to know the truth. I cleared my throat and their laughter stopped suddenly. They both turned to me, and in that instant, Lisa's face morphed from surprise to a mask of guilt. "Jake, you're home early," she stammered, attempting to sound casual, but her voice cracked slightly. "Yeah, I guess I am," I replied, my words dripping with a mix of hurt and anger. "Care to explain why there's a stranger on my couch?" The guy shot up, trying to look innocent. "I was just helping Lisa with some work," he said, a smirk creeping onto his face. "Work? Is that what you call it?" I shot back, directing my gaze back to Lisa, who was now visibly sweating. I could see the wheels turning in her mind, desperately trying to spin a story that would save her. "Jake, it's not what you think. We were just—" she began, but trailed off, clearly realizing that any excuse would fall flat. "What, just having sex in our bed while I was away?" I interrupted, my voice rising. I felt the anger boiling up inside me, a dark, fiery energy that made me feel alive and yet utterly devastated. "I can explain," she blurted out, her eyes darting between me and her unwelcome guest. "Yeah, I'd love to hear this one," I shot back, crossing my arms as I paced the room, trying to process the mess that had just unfolded. Lisa took a deep breath, her composure slightly returning. She launched into a convoluted explanation, full of half-truths and inconsistencies, that she claimed was about feeling neglected. It all sounded rehearsed, as if she had prepared this defense long before I walked in. The emotional impact hit me like a wave, crashing over me with an intensity I couldn't control. I felt betrayed, furious, and yet there was a haunting sadness that lingered in the corners of my mind. How could she do this? Didn't she care at all about the life we built together? As she rambled on, trying to justify her actions, my thoughts spiraled. I was no longer listening to her excuses. I was lost in the realization that this woman, my wife, had shattered everything I believed in. What was I supposed to do now? Go back to how things were, accept her excuses, or the guy sitting in my living room? I needed to make a decision, and fast. It was clear that this wasn't just a fight. It was the beginning of a showdown. "If you want to continue, let me know." As I stood there, the weight of betrayal hung heavy in the air. Lisa was spinning her web of justification, but I could hardly focus on her words. My mind was racing, jumping from one thought to the next. How could she do this to us, to me? I felt like I was trapped in a nightmare with no escape. I took a deep breath, trying to anchor myself as I forced myself to listen. "Jake, I've felt so alone lately. You're always working and I just needed someone to talk to," she said, her voice dripping with faux sincerity. "This guy, Steve, he was just a friend. We were going to work on this project together, and one thing led to another. One thing led to another." I interrupted, my voice filled with disbelief. "You're telling me that you just accidentally ended up in bed with him, in our bed, while I was gone?" She looked cornered, and for a moment I thought I saw genuine remorse flicker across her face, but it quickly morphed back into frustration. "It's not like that, you don't understand. I was lonely, Jake. You were never around. I needed someone." The nerve of her excuses infuriated me. How could she turn this around to make me feel guilty? "So what you're saying is that it's my fault you decided to sleep with someone else? That's rich, Lisa. You had the choice not to betray your husband, and you chose to sleep with another man instead." For a moment, a silence fell between us. I could see the guy, Steve, awkwardly shifting on the couch, unsure whether to intervene or flee. I wanted to throw him out of my house, but the real conflict was with Lisa. I couldn't afford to let the anger overwhelm me. I needed to stay focused. "Jake, please," she pleaded, her voice softer now. "I didn't mean for it to happen. I never wanted to hurt you. I love you." Love. The word echoed in my mind, tainted by the sight of her and Steve on that couch. "Do you really, Lisa? If you loved me, how could you do this? How could you let him sleep in our bed while I was away working? Doesn't that mean anything to you?" Her eyes darted around, searching for the right words, but all I saw was the web of lies she had spun. "I thought we could work on things together. I thought you'd understand." Understand? I felt a cold rage surging within me. This wasn't just a mistake. It was a calculated decision to betray me. You thought I'd understand. You brought him into our home, into our space. You disrespected everything we built together. The fight within me began to boil over as the emotional impact of her actions settled into a bitter pit in my stomach. I felt sadness creeping in, but the anger kept me afloat. I wasn't ready to drown in despair yet. I knew I had to regain control. "I need some time to think," I said, my voice steady but strained. "I can't look at you right now." Lisa's face crumpled, and for the first time I saw her true fear. Maybe she realized the gravity of what she'd done. "Jake, please don't leave. Let's talk this through. I can do better. I'll change." "I don't think you understand what you've done, Lisa. You've shattered my trust, and it can't just be repaired with a conversation," I replied, my heart pounding in my chest. Without waiting for her response, I turned and walked out of the room, leaving her with Steve. The confrontation had been surreal, like a scene from a movie. Yet it was my life crumbling around me. I needed air, clarity, and time away from this mess. I stepped outside, heart racing, and wandered into the backyard. It was a warm summer evening, the sky painted with hues of orange and pink, but all I felt was a chill of betrayal. My mind swirled with questions. Did I still love Lisa? Could I ever trust her again? As I stood there, contemplating the shattered pieces of my marriage, I felt a strange resolve forming. I couldn't just let this slide. I had to do something. Revenge, maybe. But more importantly, I had to find a way to reclaim my dignity. What came next wouldn't be easy, but I knew it was time to take the reins of my life back. No more hiding from the truth. No more letting her dictate the narrative. With that thought, I made a decision. I would confront this head-on, not just for my own sake, but because I deserved better. It was time to turn the tables and make her understand the weight of her choices. If you want to continue, let me know. I spent the night tossing and turning, the events of the day replaying in my mind like a broken record. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Lisa's face, the look of shock, guilt, and that desperate plea for understanding. It angered me that she thought I could just forget what had happened. I had so many thoughts swirling in my head, but one thing was becoming clear. I couldn't let her walk away without feeling the weight of what she'd done. The next morning, I took a walk to clear my head, but all I could think about was how to confront Lisa again. I needed to make her understand the reality of her actions. I knew she would try to manipulate the situation again, to twist the narrative in her favor, but I was ready for it this time. I had to be strong. When I finally returned home, Lisa was sitting at the kitchen table, her eyes puffy from lack of sleep. It was easy to see she had been crying, but I couldn't muster any sympathy. She made her choices, and now she had to deal with the consequences. As I walked in, she looked up, her expression shifting from hope to dread. "Jake," she began, her voice trembling, "I'm really sorry about last night. I'll do anything to fix this. Please, let's talk." "Talk? You mean try to convince me that what you did was okay?" I shot back, my voice edged with anger. "No, Lisa, this isn't about talking it out. This is about you understanding how deeply you've hurt me. You chose him over me, and there's no easy way to come back from that." She opened her mouth, likely to spew out another excuse, but I raised my hand to stop her. No more excuses. I'm done with that. I want to know why you did this. Was there something I wasn't giving you? Was there a moment where you thought I might cheat on my husband? Because you have to know that this wasn't just a mistake. This was a conscious choice. Her face fell as she realized I wasn't going to let her off the hook this time. I didn't think of it like that. It just happened, Jake. After everything, I felt neglected and neglected. You mean I was working my ass off to provide for us? You knew I was busy with work, and instead of talking to me, you went and betrayed me. I interrupted, my frustration boiling over. You thought this guy was going to fill the void in your life. Did you really think I wouldn't find out, or did you just not care? I cared, I really did. I felt lost, she said, desperation creeping into her tone. I didn't think you'd find out this way. I thought I could handle it. Handle what exactly? Handling sex with another man, in our home. I shot back, my voice rising. You think I'm going to let that slide, that I'm just going to forgive and forget? I could see her crumbling, the confidence she had during our first confrontation disappearing. No, I don't want you to forgive me. I just want you to understand how I felt. Can't we just start over? Start over? I echoed, incredulous. You want to erase what you did. You can't just wipe the slate clean after something like this. You've crossed a line, Lisa, and I'm not sure if I can trust you again. Her face twisted in pain, and for a fleeting moment I felt a pang of sympathy, but it quickly faded. I had to think about myself, about what was best for me. I need to be honest with you, Lisa. I don't think this is going to work anymore. I can't be in a relationship where I constantly question your loyalty. What are you saying? She asked, tears streaming down her cheeks. You can't just throw everything away. We've built a life together. Built a life? You mean built a life on lies and deceit? I shot back, my patience wearing thin. You've shattered my trust, and I don't know if I can ever rebuild it. Right now, I need space, and I need to figure out what I want. But I can tell you this much: you won't be sleeping under this roof anymore. Her face fell, and the realization hit her hard. I was done with the drama and manipulation. I deserved more than to be someone's second choice. Gathering my resolve, I continued. I want you to pack your things and leave. I'll give you time to find somewhere else, but I can't have you here. Not right now. Jake, please, she pleaded, but my mind was made up. I couldn't let her guilt trip me into feeling sorry for her. I'll help you find a place if you need it, but you have to go, I said firmly. You made your choices, and now you need to deal with the consequences of those choices. I turned and walked away, leaving her to absorb the weight of my words. I felt a mix of triumph and heartache as I left her standing there, knowing I had taken the first step toward reclaiming my life. This was not just about revenge. It was about self-preservation. I wanted her to feel the consequences of her actions, to understand that choices have repercussions. I needed to process my emotions and regain my strength before I could even consider moving forward. If you want to continue, let me know. The days that followed were a blur of mixed emotions. I had told Lisa to leave, but part of me felt guilty about how quickly I had cut ties. I never thought I'd find myself in such a situation, but it was a necessary step to reclaim my dignity. I wanted her to understand how her choices had consequences, but I also felt the weight of loneliness creeping in. Lisa moved out within a week, finding a temporary place to stay with a friend of hers. I thought about reaching out to her, but each time I did, memories of her betrayal flooded my mind. Despite the pain, I knew I was making the right decision. There was no way I could go back to pretending everything was okay when the trust was shattered. I spent my evenings in a haze, often staring at the walls of our once shared home, trying to fill the void that was left behind. Friends tried to pull me out of my funk, inviting me to bars and gatherings, but I wasn't ready for the outside world. I preferred to stay in my own bubble, processing what had happened. One night, I found myself scrolling through my phone, contemplating the journey of my life so far. I stumbled upon old photos of Lisa and me from happier times. I remembered the laughter, the adventures, and the intimacy we once shared. It hurt. It all hurt so deeply. I missed her, yet I couldn't ignore the betrayal that had marred those memories. Just when I thought I was getting my bearings, I received a text from Lisa. My heart raced as I read the message. Can we talk? I know I messed up and I want to apologize properly. I stared at the screen, torn between anger and longing. Did she really want to apologize, or was this another manipulation? I waited a few hours before responding. I'm not sure we should talk right now. I need time. She replied almost immediately, a flurry of texts that felt desperate. I understand. Just know that I'm really sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. Can we meet? I promise I'll be respectful. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet her for coffee. I thought maybe I could hear her out, but deep down, I was preparing myself for another emotional roller coaster. What if she tried to convince me to take her back? I had to steel myself against the possibility. The day of our meeting arrived, and I felt a swirl of nerves as I walked into the cafe. I spotted her sitting at a table in the corner, fidgeting with her hands. When our eyes met, I could see a hint of vulnerability, but the anger inside me was still simmering. "Hey," I said as I took a seat, keeping my voice steady. "Hi," she replied, her voice soft. "Thanks for meeting me." I nodded, but I didn't want to let my guard down. "So, what do you want to say?" She took a deep breath, her eyes filling with tears. "I just wanted to say that I am truly sorry for what I did. I've had a lot of time to think about my actions, and I realize how selfish I was. I didn't just hurt you, I hurt our relationship." I leaned back in my chair, trying to gauge her sincerity. "And what do you think that means? Just saying you're sorry doesn't erase what happened." I know," she rushed out, quickly shaking her head. "But I'm here to take responsibility. I want to make amends. I've talked to a therapist about my issues, and I'm really trying to understand why I made those choices." "Therapy?" I scoffed, crossing my arms. "You think that's enough to fix everything? Do you really think I can just let you back into my life after what you did?" She looked down, her hands trembling. "No, I don't expect you to forgive me right away. I just want you to know that I regret my actions. I didn't take your feelings into account." "Regret? It's easy to feel regret when you've been caught." I shot back, feeling my blood boil. "Where was that regret when you were sharing our bed with someone else? You had choices, Lisa." "I know," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. "I messed up. I was looking for something I thought I needed, and I didn't realize how much I'd lose in the process." I studied her face. There was a genuine sorrow in her eyes that tugged at something deep within me, but I couldn't shake off the anger. "So what now? Do you think just because you're sorry that everything will magically be okay?" She took a shaky breath, wiping her eyes. "I don't expect that. I just want a chance to prove that I can be better. I know I don't deserve it, but I want to work on myself for you and for us, if you'll let me." The silence stretched between us, and I felt the walls closing in. While I appreciated her honesty, I couldn't ignore the devastation she had caused. "I don't know, Lisa. I really don't. I need more time to think about everything." "I get it," she replied, her voice steadying. "And I'll give you that time. Just know that I'm here whenever you're ready." With that, we parted ways, and as I walked back home, my head was spinning. I felt a strange mix of pity and anger. Lisa's admission left me questioning everything. Could I ever trust her again? Was there a way to move past this and rebuild our lives together, or was it too late? I didn't have answers yet, but one thing was certain. I wasn't done fighting for my own peace of mind. If you want to continue, let me know. The days that followed our coffee meeting felt like a strange limbo. Lisa's admission of regret lingered in my mind, battling with the memories of betrayal. I spent hours contemplating the possibility of reconciliation, yet I couldn't escape the emotional jagged edges of my hurt. I had no experience in navigating these kinds of dilemmas, and it was overwhelming. I began keeping a journal, a way to articulate my feelings and thoughts more clearly. I wrote about the love we had shared and the dreams we had built, juxtaposed with the gnawing anger I felt when I thought of her betrayal. Each page became a cathartic release, although it was difficult to put pen to paper when the pain was still so fresh. A week later, I found myself standing in front of my closet, deciding what to wear for a friend's get-together. I hadn't seen many friends since everything had gone down, and I knew I needed to re-enter the world, even if it felt daunting. My friends had been supportive, constantly checking in on me, but I had avoided deep conversations about my situation. I didn't want to put a damper on the night, but I also wasn't ready to pretend everything was fine. As I arrived at the gathering, I was welcomed with hugs and friendly faces. Everyone was genuinely happy to see me, but the moment I stepped into the room, I felt That familiar pit in my stomach returned. I knew the questions would come, questions I wasn't sure I wanted to answer yet. "Jake, man, how have you been?" My buddy Mark greeted me, slapping me on the back. "We've missed you, heard about the situation, how are you holding up?" "Just taking it one day at a time," I replied, forcing a smile. "You know how it is." "Yeah, it sucks, but you're strong, you'll get through this," he assured me, and I tried to absorb his positivity. As the night went on, I found myself engaged in conversations, trying to distract my mind from the looming thoughts of Lisa. But inevitably, the subject came up. I was cornered by a couple of friends who wanted to know the details. "Hey man, we just want to check in. Is everything okay with you and Lisa?" Sarah asked gently. I hesitated, feeling a surge of frustration. "Honestly, I don't know. We talked and she seems genuinely remorseful, but I can't just forget what happened." Mark chimed in. "You can't rush back into something like that. Take your time to heal. It's your life, your choice." I nodded, grateful for the support. Yet the thought of Lisa still weighed on my mind. Would I ever be able to forgive her? Somewhere deep inside, I still loved her, and that made the entire situation more complicated. The truth was, I missed her presence, the comfort of our shared life, even if it was now tainted. As the evening wore on and laughter filled the air, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe I could find a way forward, not just for us but for myself. I needed to rediscover who I was outside of this pain, regardless of where things stood with Lisa. When I got home that night, I pulled out my journal, determined to write down my thoughts. "I miss her. I hate that I miss her," I wrote. "But I know I have to be strong. I owe it to myself to prioritize my well-being." That night, I made a decision. I wouldn't rush into anything with Lisa. Instead, I would focus on healing. I needed clarity and strength before I could even consider whether we had a future together. The following week, I received another text from Lisa. "I know you need time, but I want you to know I'm here for you whenever you're ready. I miss you." I stared at the screen, a wave of conflicting emotions washing over me. Part of me longed to reach out and tell her I missed her too, to reconnect the way we used to. But another part of me shouted to stay strong, to remember the betrayal. Instead, I texted back, "I appreciate that. I'm still processing everything and need time to think." Her reply was immediate. "I understand. Just know that I'm waiting and I'll be here." Days turned into weeks, and as I focused on self-care, I found myself rediscovering parts of me that had been lost. I started going to the gym again, signing up for a boxing class to release the pent-up anger inside me. I surrounded myself with friends who reminded me of my worth, who had my back no matter what. But even as I rebuilt, there were moments when I felt the heaviness of unresolved emotions. I still couldn't shake the longing for what we once had, and the possibility of it returning haunted me. Finally, I decided it was time for another conversation with Lisa. I needed to confront the reality of our relationship, to assess whether there was a path forward. With a deep breath, I sent her a text. "Can we meet? I think I'm ready to talk again." The response came quickly. "Yes, I'd love to. When and where?" I suggested a coffee shop, the same place where we had met last time. I felt the anxiety bubbling in my stomach, but I also felt a sense of determination. It was time to lay it all out on the table, to be honest about my feelings, and to find out if the love we had could ever be salvaged. "If you want to continue, let me know." As I walked into the coffee shop, my heart raced with a mixture of anticipation and dread. I spotted Lisa already seated at a corner table, nervously playing with her hands. She looked different, more composed, yet still vulnerable. As I approached, I could see the hope in her eyes, and it made my stomach twist in knots. "Hey," I said as I sat down, forcing a smile despite the tension hanging in the air. "Hey." She replied softly, her voice trembling slightly. "Thank you for meeting me." I nodded, unsure of where to start. "I wanted to talk about us, the aftermath of everything that happened. I think we need to be honest about what this means going forward." "Absolutely," she said, her eyes wide with sincerity. "I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I really want to understand how I hurt you and what I can do to fix it." I took a deep breath, the weight of my emotions swirling within me. "First, I want you to know that what you did shattered my trust. It wasn't just a mistake. It felt like a betrayal of everything we built together. I can't gloss over that pain." "I know, and I'm so sorry," she said, tears welling in her eyes. "I never wanted to hurt you. I was selfish and didn't think about the consequences. I get that you're sorry, but I need more than just words, I said, feeling a mix of anger and sadness bubbling underneath. I'm here because I want to know if there's any chance for us to rebuild, but to know that you're genuinely committed to changing. She nodded, her voice steady. I am committed. I've started therapy and I'm learning why I acted the way I did. It's been eye-opening. I'm not just working on our relationship, I'm working on myself. I studied her. It was hard to reconcile the woman sitting in front of me with the one who had betrayed me, but something in her demeanor spoke of sincerity. I want to believe you, Lisa, but trust is earned and you have a long way to go. I understand, she said earnestly. I'm willing to do the hard work. I can't promise I'll be perfect, but I want to try, not just to win you back, but because I need to be better for myself. Her determination struck a chord with me. I wanted to believe that she could change, that we could find a path back to each other, but there was still a nagging doubt in my mind. If we're going to even consider this, we need to take things slow. There's a lot of hurt that needs to be addressed. Of course, she agreed. I'm not expecting you to just forgive and forget. I want to rebuild that trust, even if it takes time. As we talked, I began to feel a sense of hope mingling with caution. It felt good to discuss our feelings openly, to share our truths without the walls that had kept us apart. There were still so many uncertainties, but perhaps there was a glimmer of possibility. We spent hours talking, delving into our past and the cracks that had formed in our relationship. I shared my fears and insecurities, and Lisa opened up about her feelings of loneliness and longing for connection. It was the first real conversation we'd had in months, and it felt like a step forward. When we finally left the cafe, I felt lighter, yet burdened with the knowledge that the road ahead would be challenging. As much as I wanted to believe in rekindling our love, I knew it wouldn't be easy. I had to remain vigilant, to protect my heart while remaining open to the possibility of healing. Jake, she said as we stepped outside, the sun casting a warm glow over us. No matter what happens, I'm grateful you gave me this chance. I'll work hard to prove that I can be the partner you deserve. I smiled faintly, appreciating her sincerity. I hope you do, Lisa, I really do. As I drove home that day, I reflected on the journey we had both taken, through betrayal and heartbreak, but also through honesty and vulnerability. I didn't know what the future held for us, but I felt a renewed sense of hope. No matter how it turned out, I realized that I had taken back my power. I was no longer just a victim of infidelity. I was reclaiming my narrative. The road to healing was just beginning, and I was ready to face whatever came my way, one step at a time. In the end, I learned that life is about choices, and even when those choices lead to pain, they can also lead to growth and discovery. I had been tested in ways I never expected, but I came out stronger. Whether Lisa and I would find our way back to each other remained to be seen, but for now I knew I was on the right path, one of self-discovery, self-respect, and hopefully love again. And that was enough for me.